Hey, how's it going, Robin?
Good, good. I just wanted to check in today and let our readers know a little bit about what's going on with you before we release this great piece you contributed to BEQ Pride for our spring edition. See how you're doing. Um, how are your people doing, your family? You know, we're going
Yes.
through this global pandemic, and before we put out this great piece you contributed to BEQ Pride, we certainly wanted to check in with you first and get that human connection. So tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about what's going on in DC. Are you in DC?
I'm in DC, yes.
Okay. All right.
Well, I thank you for reaching out to even ask because, it's a crazy time, and quite honestly, it is a little scary. So it always helps to have that human element like this, to check in. So I appreciate that. I'm well. I'm maintaining, quarantining. And my family is all doing well. Most of my family is back in North Carolina. Um, and I was raised with like older folks, so it is kind of a high concern for us. Our family with our grandparents and aunts, and my grandfather actually cares for our great aunt. And we live really well. They're from a really small town, so it really is actually something that we are concerned about. But all is well.
Yeah, that's good to hear. And, the fact that, we can dwell on what's happening out there in the world, or we can get our hearts and minds together on building for a future, a better future. And so when we think about your contribution to this BEQ Pride magazine this time, it's about America's invisible third world.
Yeah.
So just give us, our readers a little bit of synopsis and a little bit of background of where you're coming from. And, we're going to invite people to go ahead on our website and take a look at the article, because we're obviously social distancing and physically distancing with the magazine because we're not out at all of our events being able to get it. But at least people can get a feel for what you were thinking, what's going on in your world, and like what's to come. So how about you do that?
Sure, yeah. So with America's invisible third world, it's my, metaphor and analogy for all of like the marginalized groups in society. So spoiler alert, I did spend some time in prison. I was convicted for a felony in a DWI involved accident where someone actually lost their life. And, as a college student, I found myself in prison. And while I was there, I write a lot. And so the project I'm working on, Letters from America's Third World, is based on a compilation of my writings from when I was incarcerated. And as I reread them now, as an adult and with, slightly removed, what I realize is that our prisons are actually made up of folks from this invisible third world within our society, right? So again, those marginalized, whether that's poor people, homeless people, right? Black and brown communities largely.
People
And
that are
so
substance
that's,
abuse, people with substance abuse, excuse me,
yes, people with substance abuse
mental
issues,
illness.
mental
There's
health.
just, yeah.
Yes, that's really who the bulk of what makes up our prison population. And so it fit within the parameters of what I saw and felt as a third world. And even now, if read a lot of headlines, that actually is a big concern for a lot of prisons. How do you contain the virus when people are in such close quarters and that kind of thing? So that's kind of where I was going with the article and what the project is about, really just like highlighting and shedding new perspective on, how we can look at the criminal justice system and, how we can maybe make it a little better.
Well, it's so funny. Just to let people know that are avid readers of BEQ Pride and also visit our website, businessequalitymagazine.com. You might recognize Devin because he's actually formerly was with the NGLCC, the National LGBT Chamber of Commerce, and literally this young man worked there for 3 years, and so that might be why you recognize him. But the perspective was just going to be exciting because he's a young person. He's looking at the world with fresh eyes. Your company name, your new business name is Ship and Anchor. And that has a little bit of a backstory as well. that maybe you'll share with us. But the whole idea of having perspectives from just different people across our community is really important. And
Yeah.
so I'm really excited for people to hear your writing, to hear the metaphor, to understand what you see in the world, and to be on board and, getting behind you and helping to support you get out there and do your great work with journaling. So tell us a little bit about Ship and Anchor and the journaling part of it.
Sure. So I've journaled since, I've journals going back to second grade. And for me, it's always been cathartic. But again, just looking back and seeing how during my incarceration, I leveraged it as a tool to, the theme for this season's podcast for project is healing, dealing, and reeling, right? And so I was able to look through my journals and see that I was able to reel it all in, deal with issues, and then ultimately heal from it. And that's what allowed me to then be clear-minded and able to plan for the life I wanted for myself after release, which I think is, it's an easy thing that a lot of people can do, especially who are incarcerated, to, plan for a better situation upon release. So that's how I found myself in journaling and why I'm, really advocating for that as a tool. Because it surprised me last year when I went back and I saw that I was already speaking about starting a business called The Ship, which now, fast forward a few years, is called Ship and Anchor. And what we do is we help train and develop folks. And so right now, our particular focus is on re-entry and returning citizens, right? How do people who are coming home get those new skills, training to be able to find work, or if they want to become an entrepreneur, right? But also recognize the human component, right? And that socio-emotional piece, which is where the journey kind of comes in for me. So it's pretty exciting. And, you mentioned NGLCC, and I always have to shout them out because it was at my time at NGLCC that I really understood the value of different types of diversity and really owning my experience. I always would give my props and credit to the leadership there because that was one of the first jobs I was able to really share with our leadership team, my background in incarceration. And, when we talk about bringing our whole selves to work and what that means, that was my first time being able to bring those parts of Devin that, actually learned a lot from being incarcerated. And I think that like this, it's like, if 40% of my brain power is spent on, trying to push out that part of Devin that was, incarcerated, that's 40% of my brain power that's not, helping me be more effective and focused in my work. Yes. And so being able to, work in that kind of environment and space really brought out the best in me and let me, realize that diversity really matters to really be able to bring your full self to work.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Giving a shout out to organizations like NGLCC, especially NGLCC, to see a Black man at your age with your perspective, them embrace you for who you are, and you to be able to have a rewarding experience, and then coming out, as a business owner. And it's not just a feel-good thing, right? What you called me about when you introduced this idea about us connecting was about economic empowerment. And you brought to my attention something that I thought I knew plenty about, but really didn't, was the number of people that are incarcerated. The vast majority are coming back to society. People even on with life imprisonment, some still have parole. So I don't know what the percentages are exactly, but a large number of people are coming back, and that's an untapped resource. And Absolutely. It's a way we haven't really figured out how to harness that talent and put it to good use, for society, help people to re-enter and have something to look forward to. So, you helped me to really hone in on that and really understand from a personal perspective, because I knew you and didn't know what I didn't know about you. And it just made me so much more of a fan and just celebrating you and your courage and wanting to see you, excel. So you
Yeah.
know, tell me, how our folks at BEQ Pride and Business Equality Magazine can connect with you. How can they support you if they're in a supplier diversity program, in a major company or at a university or a
Yeah.
school? How do you want to engage? How do you want them to engage with you?
Yes. 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 Thank you. Thank you. Um, you can always contact me at dsmith@anchorbiz. That's ship the word and spelled out. Anchorbiz.com. And so there's a few ways we're looking to engage, right? So for universities, we're looking to engage by doing college visits to talk about a couple of things, right? The first being the criminal justice system at large, and what the landscape looks like now, and what is feasible for we always talk about prison reform, but I really like to think of it as transformation, right? Because I think we really need to transform it, right? And you think about colleges; those are our future law enforcement folks, our future lawyers, our future judges, all of that. So we want to go there and just anchor in my experience through my journals in real time to talk about the criminal justice system and how we can make progress with that, as well as the mental health component. Because like you said, Robin, there were a number of things I was dealing with at the time. I was dealing with the grief of losing my father and uncles at sea. I had been outed around that time as well, which contributed to a lot of what, took me to prison, dealing with as a college student. And so we want to, go to different colleges to talk about that, right? Mental health and criminal justice reform. For those in the business world, we really are, our background, and when we first launched Ship and Anchor, we really were focusing on training organizations, particularly around diversity. And now what we're really looking for is partnerships as we look to, like I said, train folks to get back to work and make a life for themselves. I actually have teamed up with a guy who actually I met him and he was my cellmate, and he came out from home and he started a trucking company. And so now we're teaming up. So that part of the training we're doing is, when guys get out, train them to get their CDL license, and then putting them on the road so that they can again start making an income for themselves. And then from that place of, okay, now I at least have the basic income covered for myself. We're helping them plan for, so what do you really want to do with your life, and go from there. So it's really, really exciting, man. And yeah, we're hoping to get as many folks, on board the ship, so to speak, as possible.
I like that. And the fact that you're so authentic about your experience and dealing with some serious issues and how that drove you probably to drink to excess, and then ultimately causes, like you said, you're minutes away from a decision that can change your entire life. And I think the beauty of these, I don't know, 1,500 words or so, 1,200 words, is that it's from your truth. And I think the most incredible thing is to realize that America's invisible third world is what's, in our prisons. And there's a lot to be learned from you. Let me show our audience. I'm going to share my screen.
Sure.
So forgive me because I have too many things open, of course. But I'm going to try and share this month's. Can you see this now?
I can see it.
Okay. So our cover this month is, or this magazine spring, is Molly Lenore from Moe Inc. We'll be talking to her soon. But then, yes, so then, you know Moe Inc. Yeah, of course. Okay. And then we have you, Devin, on page 16. So let's try to get to page 16. Ooh, I don't want to show all our stuff right now. Let me see if I can get to page 16. Yeah, here we go. America's Invisible Third World. And we got you right there, shiny, bright, got your hat on, looking all cool, and then really sharing with us some insights. And your contact information is also in the article in our website. So, we really, really appreciate having you contribute, and we want to stay in touch. and know how things are progressing. And at any point that we can support you, I know you have some music, right? Am I allowed to say that? You got music.
Yeah.
you got a podcast, that's got lots of voices and lots of different people, and it's really exciting for somebody at least my age to hear people your age really talking about how you see the world. It's truly insightful. So, anything else you're working on that we should know about?
Yeah. So, and thanks for that. Yeah. So, the project Letters from America's Third World, it really is a multimedia experience. It's because again, it's like I learned so much from that experience, and now as I'm in the place of utilizing and leveraging every piece of me to the most effectiveness. Music is a thing that I saw in my journals. I said I wanted to, do because I've always written music. And so that's part of the project. So there's a podcast, which you can find on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Breaker, Overcast, all that, called Letters from America's Third World. And then we'll soon be releasing a soundtrack that goes with it. And just to give context again, this season of the podcast is themed healing, dealing, and reeling. And so what the soundtrack is really going to do is really going to take you on that journey of healing through my experience. So, we'll start with defining the third world, and we'll go through the journey to ultimately where I'm at a place now where I'm healed from it. And ready to really take life by the reins. So that's the other part of the project.
Now, I think this is so fabulous. I mean, this is my Gen X move, raising the roof. But I just want to say I'm really happy to have you as a part of our family here and sharing your experience and your perspective. I'm so excited for you. I can't wait to hear the soundtrack and to read all about your successes. And please know that we're here at BEQ Pride and Business Equality Magazine in general, here for you and to support you. And I'm thankful. Thank you for your time today.
Oh, thank you so much. Be safe.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.
All right, take care.